going on, Jeromes? So here's something that they'll never tell you. So when I was a teenager, I had some acne, just like everyone else back in the day. And they never tell you that even as you get older, you will still get pimples. That's why I look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, just like grown-ass man, almost 40. Anyways, but Q&A, thank you everyone who submitted questions. Periodically, we'll put it out on the community tab, so thank you everyone who fired on in. First up, halibut. Halibut's one of my favorite cuts of fish, or types of fish. Anyways, not to discredit Sammy D, but I reckon J.J. McCarthy could have been having a similar type season under Kevin O'Connell. A very interesting offseason ahead, but heaps more football until then. It is a fun hypothetical, all right? And also, I do love and respect that the Vikings put him on season-ending IR before instead of dragging it out and having it potentially where he could return, because that's all that anyone would be talking about every time Darnold had an incompletion, literally, right? And also him trying to rush him back towards the end of the season off of a meniscus repair, would have been no good. But you look around, so Jane Daniels lighting things up. Caleb Williams allegedly having 3 good games against 3 terrible defenses. But McCarthy would have been a lot of fun, man. He's got that mobility. He's got a whip arm. And I do think that O'Connell wouldn't have dumbed things down. I think that's something that I liked about O'Connell in training camp with McCarthy as well. They didn't sugarcoat things. He got the same install as Darnold, as Mullins, as Jaron Hall, and he was expected to perform. And it's sort of trying to drink from a fire hose, but McCarthy, he was doing really damn good. Obviously, it's a fun hypothetical that we'll never know, but I think that McCarthy would have done fine in that situation. Yeah, but Darnold's looking really good. Don't let the Jets game fool you, man. Wesley White. Why hasn't Diamond Dallas Turner been more of an impact as a rotational guy? He's actually done pretty okay. Now, also, you do have to factor in that the Vikings, he is a rotational guy right now because the Vikings are racked up and stacked up on the edge with Gernard, AVG, Patrick Jones second, as well as Hadi Ward rotating in there as well. So, they're pretty damn good, and it's not like Turner has been terrible. He's played 77 of 355 defensive snaps, 21.7%, which you do have to factor in that he missed a full game with injury as well. Has 3 pressures, a sack, 6 tackles. I know that he's not putting up eye-popping numbers, but also no rookie edge has more than 2 sacks. Plus, he did have a great setting of the edge against the Jets on that big 4th down. So I think that he is grown and shown as a player. I think that he does have a chance to really springboard in the second half of the season and potentially put himself in Defensive Rookie of the Year territory. I think that because remember, his buddy Will Anderson with the Texans last year won Defensive Rookie of the Year with 7 sacks. I think that's still within reach for Turner. Next, Rudy Peel. How are the Vikings going to handle the return of Hockenson, Reisner, and Gabriel Murphy? Who would they need to cut from the rooster to make room? So they've already made moves. This needs to be updated because they've let go of Jalen Redmond. He's likely going to be added to the practice squad once he clears waivers. But, there's spots where they can make some room. Now, Murphy, haven't heard anything about Murphy. So maybe he's just going to be on IR for the full season. It certainly is a possibility because you don't want to expose him to waivers or anything like that. Also, the Vikings are just so racked up and stacked up on the edge. Also, you have Bo Richter, who's gotten a little bit of run too. So maybe they just play the safe route with Murphy, given a full redshirt year, whatever. But the Vikings do have spots where they can shift things around. I think that offensive line wise would be interesting. I think that they would probably try to get Juergens down to the practice squad. I think that could make some sense. Tight end wise, so they've gone back and forth. They'll put Gaskin back onto the practice squad for the 17,000th time, or potentially they'll release Trishan Jackson, get him down onto the practice squad. He's been a healthy scratch most of the games anyway. So there's always ways to manipulate the roster and the practice squad to make room. So it's not that big of a deal. Plus, with Redmond, now there's speculation. Are they adding bodies? Are they bringing Hockenson back onto the roster? I don't know. We'll see. Futures. What do you see as the Vikings' biggest weakness, and how should we address it in the next year or two? I think the Vikings' biggest weakness is the age and contracts of the defense. All right, so even though the defense has been fantastic, you do have guys that you wonder if they're going to be back next year because either they're going to get paid somewhere else, rightfully so. That includes Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy Jr., or if they're going to retire, guys like Harrison Smith. So that's something that you do have to watch. Also, Bullard and Tillery are on 1-year deals. Andrew Van Ginkel's only on a 2-year deal. Only Jonathan Grenard on defense and Cashman have 3-year deals plus. So, I mean, it's something that you're going to have to watch. And I do trust that if Flores is back and Kwesi, they can replenish the defensive side of the ball. And in terms of coaches, I love what Durante Jones has done in the secondary. I think that Durante deserves another shot at being a defensive coordinator. He was DC at LSU for a season. Or Mike Saravo. I think that he's a rising star working with these linebackers. So I think that coaching staff-wise, they should be able to function as a defense next year, even if they do have to bring in some significant younger blood. Plus, I mean, there's been such a backlog since there's been so many veterans on this defense that a lot of the young guys do have this opportunity to step up and grow and show. Looking at Theo Jackson, Dwight McLaughlin, maybe not Caleb Evans, Osma. So, Bo Richter, Andre Carter, Gabe Murphy on the edge, LDR. So we'll see. Lastly, Tim Lindsay, love the show, Andy. Thank you. And one of the main reasons I watch is that you always help to keep things in perspective, keep everything in perspective. For us long-suffering fans of the purple who have struggled to do that, I can safely say for us that it has been a huge help since you came along, and thanks for that. Hey, thank you. So here we sit, atop it all again, many waiting for the shoe to drop. I can say I've been enjoying it so far, but starting to get that knot in my gut again, and the upcoming game is going to be a wild one. I think it's a good time for some perspective with Andy to get us ready for the rest of the season. That's going to be quite the ride. So first off, thank you for the very kind words, and this is still a lot of fun. I'm going to keep doing it till it's not fun, although it is a grind, not going to lie. It is pretty easy to get burnt out of this thing, but it has been a fun ride so far. Plus, every single thing the Vikings have been doing, being physical, dominating the trenches, the best defense in the league. Offensively, they have capabilities to be top 5, and they ain't 5 in a bunch of metrics. But you look at, okay, what happens with Aaron Jones? What happens with Hockenson when he gets back? What happens with this, that, or the other thing? I'm feeling pretty good about this team, and it's okay to say that. On one hand, it's okay to say, well, I'm sort of hesitant to really go all in because of the history of this team. But on the other hand, who in the NFC scares you? Oh, blah, 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 the Lions. Hey, congratulations, Lions. You're showing off and trying to run up the score and trying to get your offensive tackles to score. Awesome. But, hey, they have to enter the House of Pain on Sunday. So bring that on. It's a heavyweight fight. Sunday, high noon, showdown at the OK Corral, a.k.a. US Bank Stadium. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a hell of a game. And guess what? Vikings favored in that game. I think the Vikings match up well against the Lions. Hutchinson, it's unfortunate, man. Hopefully he can, that's a horrible injury. Hopefully he can resume his career. And he's a really damn good player. And hopefully he can resume his trajectory that he was on, man. But I think the Vikings can put up points on the Lions. That secondary is still suspect. I feel like the Cowboys game falsely built up the Lions defense, and it was much more about the Cowboys being ass, thank you, than the Lions defense being good. And offensively, hey, if you can shut down the Lions running game, that makes everything else tougher because all of a sudden Jaron Goof has to beat you, and I don't trust it. And I trust Brian Flores' defense off a week of rest at home to bring it on, man. So, yeah, I understand why, being a Vikings fan, it's easy to feel snake bit at times, but this season, it does not feel like 2003. It does not feel like 2016. This season feels different, man. And I think the Vikings are going to continue to grow and show and continue to roll on because every single game is tough, but look at the meat of the schedule, baby. Just like racking up and stacking up wins. If and when the Vikings get by the Lions, all of a sudden, where do you see the next game that the Vikings could lose? Where? Nada, man. But that's it. Q&A on this beautiful Monday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.